After a spectacular and scenic Footloose visit to Norway in the summer, Dave and I vowed we would return to this fabulous country in winter for a holiday. We've chosen to take the coastal cruise on the classic route from Bergen to the far north that has been in existence for over 130 years. Although strictly on vacation, my cameraman husband couldn't help taking many pictures on this cruise in the Arctic. And at times they were so spectacular, Dave thought we just had to share them with you. So this is it. In the form of a diary, we present our Footloose in Norway Arctic voyage. On this trip, I make friends with trolls.
Hello?
Whilst Dave actually goes in a shop.
What do you think?
No. I found a new tour guide. We go sightseeing with a furry escort.
This is my country, she says.
And feast with the Vikings. The coastal ferry service has become a very popular way of seeing more of this beautiful country's landscape. It's subsidised by the Norwegian government and is operated almost daily by two companies. Hurtigruten, the original shipping line, who employs 7 ships, and since 2021, Havila Shipping, who run 4 new eco-friendly vessels powered by gas and electricity. There are 34 ports of call en route, crossing the Arctic Circle all the way to the Russian border at Kirkenes, and then back down to Bergen. This is a cruise ship and a post boat, carrying cargo throughout the day and night, often calling in for as little as 10 minutes. But on longer stops, there's an opportunity to disembark and explore at least one of the cities, towns, villages and fishing communities each day. It's the end of February.
Well, we've arrived in Bergen and there's our ship waiting for us. We've got about 3 hours left before it goes. We're here!
Yep, ready to get on.
She's called the Havila Capella and there's nearly 500 beds on it, and it's going to take us all the way up to the Arctic Circle.
We start out in one of the interior cabins with a good chance to upgrade on the return journey, where we'll get to visit some of the ports in daylight, which we'll miss whilst sleeping on the way up.
It's only 2 years old, this ship. Bit space age.
So how do you feel being captive on a boat?
Well, I've got my dog collar. I've not done this before in any length of time. This is going to be 11 nights, 12 days. Elated, only just getting used to the idea. We got here very easily, and it's new, exciting, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Cheers. We're away.
It's chilly.
It's chilly, yeah. We're not in the Arctic yet either.
After a reasonable first night, we turn on the screen. It's 8:20.
We just called in to a place called Torvik. It's not staying there long, about 10 minutes.
Interesting place, but by mid-morning our main and also the longest stop on the voyage will be at Alesund for 10 hours. Time for breakfast.
I've got oatmeal. Okay, we've arrived at Alesund and we've got all day here. A really nice place, so I'm told. She's in the dry, but it's not too windy today.
On the longer stops like this, Havila have arranged optional excursions you can take. Here, a guided kayaking tour is one of the choices. But with an eye on Norwegian prices and the possibility of getting cold and wet, you can already guess how we're going to spend the day in this architecturally pleasing town, on foot. Information boards on the quay describe how Alesund gained its beautiful architecture. In 1904, a fire raged through the wooden fishing capital. By morning, 850 houses were in ruins, and more than 10,000 people were homeless. At the time, Norway was undergoing independence from Sweden and had many international benefactors who came to Ålesund's rescue. The elegant Art Nouveau style was chosen, and the town was rebuilt with stone in just 3 years. More history can be found at the town's museum, perched on a rocky outcrop above the harbour. Here you can take in Ålesund's history from the 1800s and learn more about the fire and World War II occupation. I found a new tour guide.
Are you following us? I think you probably are. This is my country, she says.
Down below, Dave and I shelter from the rain in an old chemist's shop. It's the Jugendstil, or Art Nouveau Museum. It's interesting how fashionable designs of the day embraced Norway's folklore and rich Viking past, along with the country's dramatic landscape. As the site of one of Norway's largest fishing harbours and a base for cod and halibut trawlers, it's no wonder there's a fisheries museum here, housed in one of the few buildings that escaped the fire in 1904. Wouldn't have minded trying the best fish and chips in the world, but we have lunch and dinner waiting for us back on board. And this won't be the only time we encounter Norwegian trolls outside the shops. My intrepid husband decides to investigate how to get pictures from the viewpoint of the town's mountain. I do not.
Here we are. 418 steps. I'm not counting them. I think I feel an overhang compulsion coming on. Okay, there you go. An overhang. Ooh, I don't like things with glass. That's the view. Okay, there's our ship peeping behind. Oh, 2/3. I reckon I'm going to make it. Oh, nearly there. Well, a couple more to go. Yes! Made it. Oh. Well, I stopped a few times, but I got up there. Fantastic. Oh, isn't that just typical? You can get a bus all the way up. Oh, well. Oh, I could do with a coffee or something. And there should be a cafe. It's shut. And it's shut downstairs as well. Oh well, let's get some views, eh? Over the cloud, so they could have the cloud level. Okay, let's back down again then. And that's our way north tonight. Back to the ship.
Over dinner, we've heard that conditions for seeing the Northern Lights in Europe over the next few days are good. But not here in Norway. The forecast is cloud and rain.
So this is Trondheim. It's looking a bit industrial to say the least, and it's just that bit chillier, but I'm sure the landscape gets a lot better soon.
Trondheim is Norway's third largest city, its second oldest, and many consider it to be the original Viking capital.
So far so good.
Yeah, looks like we've got a viewpoint now.
Yeah, although it is the railway.
Yeah, but, you know, it's getting better. Its history dates back to 997 and still remains a city of saints and kings. There are 200,000 people who live in this interesting and often colourful place. We have just 3 hours to explore. This time Havila have given voyagers an escorted cycle or tram tour option. But we don our boots and discover the slushy streets and sights ourselves. The city's iconic wooden Old Town Bridge deserves a stop. Although modernised and rebuilt several times, the original was built in 1681 after, no surprise, a great city fire. Many lovely wooden buildings remain along the Nidelva River. It's a lively student city with an intimate centre and small independent shops situated in several charming districts.
And there's the cathedral.
This is the world's northernmost Gothic cathedral and is over 100 metres long. Nidaros Cathedral was built over the grave of St. Olaf, the Viking king who brought Christianity to Norway. Construction began as far back as 1070, and it was not completed until around 1300. The magnificent building represents a pilgrimage destination for followers from all over Europe. Also to see are the Archbishop's Palace and a visitor centre. Now, the Havila Capella is docked some distance away, and for the first time we experience what can only be called missing the boat syndrome. Not wanting to cut it too fine, a whirlwind tour of Trondheim takes place. Past the royal residence, Torvet, the city square, then the port and fish market.
We haven't got enough time.
We never have enough time. A welcome signpost tells us we're only minutes away from the ship.
Soon be back in. It's getting cold.
The Capella leaves bang on time, and our voyage to the far north continues, past the sea fort and leisure island Munkholmen. Later on, out on one of the viewing decks, Dave spots the wonderful Sjungskjer lighthouse. Despite the wooden appearance, it was built from stone in 1880 and automated a century later. During the early summer months, it's turned off, like many other Norwegian lighthouses, because of the midnight sun. No takers for the jacuzzi this evening. As night falls, we cross open sea, without the shelter of the many thousands of islands off the rugged coastline.
Okay, it's looking like a stormy night tonight. It's pretty rough, but lucky our cabin's down the bottom in the middle, and it just feels like airline turbulence. Whereas up here in the restaurant, it's a bit bouncy, to say the least.
The Capella passes another coastal cruise ship returning south, run by the main operator, Hurtigruten. The ship's tannoy wakes us early to go on deck.
It's nearly 8 o'clock. And we're about to see the island, and here it is, with the little globe on. And this is the Arctic Circle, 66 degrees north. We're here.
It's hard to find shelter from the biting wind.
Arctic or what? Oh, it's a bit warmer here. Well, this has never happened before, has it?
After breakfast, we're invited to the ship's Crossing the Arctic Circle ceremony on deck 8.
And here he is, Leopold.
I do this every morning, every day, but 6 o'clock. So I want everybody to come and try this.
So you don't fancy it then?
So Dave does. Near the ship's exit ramp, there are shields on display for each of the 34 ports the coastal cruise calls at. We've got 2 hours at Bodo.
Ladies and gentlemen, in just a few minutes we'll arrive in Bodo, which is the second largest city in the northern part of Norway, with a population of around 53,000. If you wish to walk to the center of town, you simply proceed along the quay to the right along the railway track, passing the railway station.
First impressions of the port are clean, tidy, and strictly functional. Here and there, street artists have been encouraged to liven up the mainly modern architecture. The whole town centre was heavily bombed in World War II. As yet, no one has been invited to give Bodo's 1956 concrete cathedral a street art makeover. Bodo is often known as the gateway to the beautiful Lofoten Islands, which are next on our voyage. Regular ferries make the crossing to Norway's Arctic paradise. Sadly, we won't see much on the northbound trip because it'll be dark, but on the return journey, day 9, it's all in daylight.
Well, this Arctic wind is getting a bit too much, so we're going back to the ship now, yeah?
I think so. I think it's probably best. There's not a lot here, really, in Bodo.
Right, she's right.
What we could have done here was to board a rubber inflatable boat and ride the Saltstraumen, an amazing tidal current raging just outside the harbour. As you can probably guess, I fear small boats and choppy seas, so we've declined the trip. Anyway, we've booked a much gentler outing this evening when we reach the Lofoten Islands. Dave's already settled down to some polar reading. It's going to be open sea again on the crossing to the Lofotens, and once again we leave the shelter of those thousands of islands along Norway's rugged coast. We dock at Stamsund. Although our ship only stays for 20 minutes, we are joining a coach trip to the museum on Lofoten to take part in a Viking feast.
That's your guide.
Thank you.
Later, we'll be escorted to the next port on the islands to rejoin the ship and continue our Arctic voyage.
Honored guests, good evening and welcome to Lofoten. My name is Christian. Tonight I will be your connection to the past. In the Viking Age, they did not have any modern electric light. The only light sources available in the Viking Age was the light of the sun, light from fires, torches and oil lamps, and the pale light of the moon, the stars, and the northern lights. The northern lights are also called Aurora Borealis. The bus will drive as far up to the chieftain house as possible, but it will not wait for us. In fact, we will not be using this bus again. There will be a different bus that will transport us onwards to your ship again.
Smell the smoke. Oh, wow.
Anywhere you like. How many are you? We are now in this house celebrating midwinter. We hope that the sunlight will return and make brighter and stronger days. We are honoring this time of the year with big feasts and celebrations. And nothing less tonight, I can promise you.
Chieftain of Lofoten is honored to have you here as my guest tonight, while we are celebrating the returning of the sunlight. Skål! Skål! No, it's not a funeral, it's a feast! Skål! Skål! Oh, you're getting there.
The feast arrives. Not sure I'll get through all of this.
I assume you don't drink this every day like I do. Edvig and Rivet get hold of. But last winter, last summer, I went to...
Dave keeps in character for the night, although the plentiful supply of mead appears to have virtually no alcoholic value. With an eye on the clock, we take a few minutes to look around the museum.
And the gift shop.
Our chariot awaits to whisk us away from a very pleasant evening to Svolvær, the next port. We learn all about dried stockfish on the journey and arrive to see the welcome sight of the Havila Capella with its door still open, waiting for us. We are actually a bit late. The weather is not too great today. Rain is forecast, but there's still plenty of snow about. Still no takers for the jacuzzi. The first port of the morning is Finnsnes, just 30 minutes here for a cargo stop. The area around Tromso is considered one of the best places to view the Northern Lights, but with such dull weather, the film show we are treated to may be all we see today.
To view the Northern Lights, you should avoid city lights and find a dark place away from the city on a summit or open country with a clear view of the northern horizon.
After lunch, the distinctive bridge of Tromso looms ahead, connecting the two halves of the city. We've got 4 hours here. That's a decent time to explore.
Okay, next stop is Tromso. Getting used to this idea.
I'm getting the hang of it now.
Yeah. It's a bit busy up there though.
With a population of 65,000 and famed for its nightlife, it's been dubbed the Paris of the North. The alternate name, Gateway to the Arctic Ocean, conjures up images of a completely different city. From here, the heroic polar explorers like Amundsen started their expeditions out into the unknown, going further north than anyone had ever been before. Our ship has organised excursions involving huskies or reindeer rides, but in the rain it all lacks the romantic charm of the brochures. We stick to the streets. This is the city library, very stylish. In the past, Arctic hunting expeditions left from here and came back with holds filled with skins, mainly from seals and sometimes polar bears. We seek out the Polar Museum to discover more. There's a chance to see an authentic fur trapper's cabin.
Not a lot of room in here, is there?
Particularly interesting to Dave, who's been reading about all of this, is the Roald Amundsen display, chronicling his exploration of the far north, and of course the conquest of the South Pole. A scale model of his famous ship Fram takes a prominent position. A museum like no other. There's a little time left, so for a bit of fun, we drop into the Troll Museum, which is quite close to where our ship is berthed. The existence of trolls has lived through generations of Norwegian folk tales, landmark names, figurines, and souvenirs. These evil, anti-religious creatures were supposed to stir up endless trouble and fear for humans. Some were giants, some were dwarves, but they all possessed a monstrous look. Clever electronics here help to entertain the customers.
This is Deborah as a troll. It's a map of where you find trolls everywhere. Troll finder. Okay, it's time to go back to the ship now.
Dusk is such a magical time to view Norway's ports, not just at Tromso, but all the way up the rugged coast. The sun's thinking about breaking through the clouds at the morning stop of Alesund. Only a couple of hours before our snowy excursion of the day.
So good to see the sun. We've got a really nice trip to the North Cape, just about an hour's time now. And hopefully no wind, and hopefully the sun will stay out as well.
Honningsvåg calls itself the world's northernmost town, and looking on the map you can see why. The harbour is very busy here because it's one of Norway's largest fishing ports, the country's northernmost pilot station, and the largest cruise port in the north. Fishermen come here to deliver the catch, whilst we tourists come to experience Nordkapp, the North Cape.
It's snowing now. 5 minutes ago it was sunshine. Now what?
With no time to visit the Sami people's display on the quay, we've got 3.5 hours, and we'll need it because there's a coach waiting to take us on a barren trip to the edge of the world.
No, you have English? So you cross country.
Okay. English. Hi. Right, here we go.
Wait.
Hi. Oh, very nice.
So the plan is, we are here already, North Cape Municipality. This is the North Cape, but not the real North Cape. We need to go 40 minutes with the bus. And so you will see the landscape. We go first a little bit through Honningsvåg, then we go over the plateau, and in 40 minutes we arrive on the real North Cape. So it has always been fishing that has been the most important activity, and also the reason why people settled here. And here on the left side you can see these racks. Maybe you've seen on your journey. That's to make stockfish, and it's actually very easy to make. The only thing you need is the wind here. So no salts we use. So, Spain, Portugal.
Stockfish.
I don't know if you know bacalhau
like
from
stockfish?
Portugal is made with stockfish from Norway. And it's a bit difficult to imagine how far north. It's maybe because of the climate. When you come here, also today, it's almost a tropical situation. It's way too warm when you are so far north. Normally, so far north as we are, it should be between 15 and 20 degrees colder, the average temperature. And it's thanks to the Gulf Stream that we have this climate. Thanks to the Gulf Stream, you cannot go anywhere in the world so far north and have this climate. Sami summer camp, what does it mean? So here on the left, these are skeletons so for the typical Sami tents, lavu.
We're here.
And so the weather on the forecast, it says it should be 0 degrees, so very warm. Also no wind almost, which makes that the feeling temperature is around -5.
And this is what we've come for, the most northerly point of the European continent, 71 degrees latitude. For the tourist, it's almost like visiting the North Pole, but in reality, there's still 2,000 kilometres to go. People come here from all over the world to experience this, and the iconic globe sculpture has become the symbol of the North Cape and makes a popular photo stop. But without warning, the weather closes in. Celebrating children of the earth, this symbolic monument and sculpture were placed here in 1988, promoting international friendship, health and welfare.
I think he's saying it's a bit warmer inside and I think we should go.
We make a beeline for the North Cape Hall, a refuge which is partly built into the mountain cliff. Here there's a restaurant with endless views, a souvenir shop promoted by trolls, a chapel, a museum and a history display about the sinking of a famous Nazi battleship. A must-see if you've got the time is a 180-degree panoramic film showing the North Cape throughout the 4 seasons. But today we're getting 4 seasons in one day and the sun has reappeared outside. Dave inspects the original obelisk commemorating King Oscar II's visit in 1873.
That's absolutely stunning here. It's like going to the North Pole and yet you're not. There's quite a way to go before that, but beautiful trip up. Amazing weather. We've had a snowstorm. Truly magnificent. It's as near as I'm going to get to the North Pole, I think. Fantastic.
Finally, we can take some photos to send to friends and family.
I don't think we'll experience anything else like that, but fantastic. Back to the ship.
I need to say I thank you for coming with us. Very nice. I thank you for the smiles, the questions. It's very motivating. I hope you have memories to not forget too soon, or pictures.
And when I don't see you again, only the best for you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We settle down to order our evening meal when everyone receives a message on the ship's tannoy. The Northern Lights have appeared. There's a mad scramble to grab our cameras and phones, then rush to the upper decks. But where are they? The ship has dimmed its lights, and as everyone's eyes become accustomed to the dark, we start to see faint green streaks in the sky. They're here. Taking a picture, though, is another thing. Apparently, the best images at short notice can be got from an iPhone. I set my modest Android for 4 seconds exposure and get mixed results, whilst Dave, with all his contraptions, arrives late on the scene and catches the tail end of this elusive showing. Many of the tourism images you see are shot with special gear, which are then enhanced considerably. But yes, we've seen them. And now they've gone. We return to dinner.
Sunrise. Wonder what today's going to bring.
Here we are at the top of Europe, and the furthest you can go on this coastal cruise in the Arctic. It's the beginning of March, and the snowy scenery is now nothing but amazing, and the sea has become partly frozen. Our final destination is right next to the Russian border, Kirkenes. This is where our ship turns around and heads south, back to Bergen.
Ladies and gentlemen, about to arrive in Kirkenes.
Since the Russian conflict with Ukraine in 2022, other international cruise ships have stopped arriving. We have 3.5 hours here and set off to find the town centre.
Well, it's a bit fresher here. We've got our snow spikes on.
Yes.
And it's about -5. And
It's beautiful.
Yeah, and a 20-minute walk into town. I'm not sure what we're going to see here because it's not a big place.
Got Russian writing.
Because we're only 10 kilometres away from the border.
This is the borderland. The population, including neighbourhood villages, is around 8,000, and winter temperatures here have been recorded as low as -42 degrees centigrade. Apart from fishing, notably for king crabs, the Kirkenes region is known for mining iron ore. We've already seen how pretty Norwegian fishing towns can be lit at night, or indeed midwinter. The custom of leaving lights on in the windows to help guide the ships back to port still continues today. Whilst the atmosphere doesn't seem to be at all threatening, there's a slight uneasiness as we pass street names with dual language. The soldier monument celebrating the liberation in World War II by the Russians seems rather out of place during the current conflict. Nearby there's a World War II bunker museum too, but that's closed today.
Russian embassy. Google says it's closed.
As cruise ship voyagers, we don't stay long enough to report what life is now like in the town. But in conversation with locals, it's so far from Moscow that the tension just isn't there. It's us who are uneasy. To lighten the atmosphere, we walk onto the main street.
Yeah, definitely rough like reindeer skin. You're on a reindeer sled. It's the nearest you're going to be to a Sami village, I think.
Probably.
Here's what Kirkenes is famous for. It's king crab. It's probably the only one we're going to see on this trip.
There's a poster reminding us of the innocent excursions we could have booked here. For a price, you can go dog sledding, visit an ice hotel, or join a variety of king crab fishing expeditions. In northern Norway, the long dark winters can give residents a whole range of mental problems, and it's nice to see this treatment clinic openly offering all kinds of help.
I've been shopping. It's a very rare occurrence. A Christmas jumper and a new hat. Better try it on now. What do you think?
No.
I just spent
Better.
11 quid for that.
Better. That looks better. In the square, there's a historical display of the town as it was a century ago, showing the Sami people who still inhabit this region. Photography was by the local doctor's wife, with interpretation in 3 languages. Seeking refreshment, we take coffee at the Ritz, definitely the main social hub of the town. Always keeping an eye on the time and not wishing to get stranded here, Dave and I turn back towards our ship.
Completely frozen along the shoreline.
Wherever you go in Kirkenes, you can't help noticing a reminder of their neighbours. In the frozen waters, there are Russian crab boats berthed in the harbour.
Yeah, there's the ship. It's always a welcoming sign when you've been out walking. It's still there.
We've begun the 1,200-mile return journey to Bergen, and we'll be able to see quite a few of the ports we missed on the way up. It's dusk, and the American-funded Globus space surveillance golf balls come into view.
Ladies and gentlemen, in just a few minutes we'll arrive in Bodo, which was founded as a town in 1789.
Many passengers have taken a short cruise and have left the ship at Kirkenes, returning home from the small airport there. There are just over 100 people left on the return voyage, with a good number of empty berths. We've secured an upgrade to a superior sea view cabin on the 5th deck. Day 8 is perhaps not the most thrilling day in the diary, but we now have the luxury of not just a porthole, but a square window. We approach the delightfully named Hammerfest, but it's actually a rather dull oil town. all ports drum up an attraction for the cruise ship tourist to see. This town's claim to fame is a hard-to-find obelisk, marking a little-known meridian. But at least we have an hour and 3/4 to find it.
We've arrived. This is the only thing we're going to see at Hammerfest is the Meridian Monument. And then we'll get back on the ship, I think. Like many Norwegian things, it's quite a puzzle to find things.
Marvellous. Actually, it commemorates one of the biggest scientific tasks of its time, that of measuring our planet. Towards 200 years ago, they accurately measured an arc from here all the way to the Black Sea. The snow has been falling and our Arctic voyage really looks the part.
Not many views to be had now. It's a little bit surreal. We've got lovely soothing music indoors and quite a choppy sea out there. I wouldn't want to go out there now. Snow on the deck, icy, Arctic.
With all the snow that fell yesterday and the promise of sunshine, this part of the return journey through the Lofotens will be second to none. Havila Capella has created an event for day 9.
Now apparently those on a coach tour are going to wave to us as they cross over the bridge. Let's see if that actually happens. Alright, there's the bus going very slowly. Oh dear, my ears.
Our modern ship is equipped with window washers for a clearer view of the magnificent mountains.
Absolutely stunning. Sunshine, water, clearness. It's unbelievable. I don't think I've ever been anywhere so beautiful.
We've got just 1 hour here. Stokmarkenes' attraction is the Hurtigruten Museum, showcasing the history which started when shipowner Richard Witt began an express route between southern and northern Norway in 1893. The route we're still travelling on today, but in style.
a bit like the last frontier, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Wild West. Except this is the Wild North, I guess. Been waving a bit too much today, actually.
An elegant town with wonderful views.
So our room is just this one, I think. There's nothing in the window to show it's ours.
At dusk we arrive at Svolvær, which we had no time to explore on the voyage north. We were too busy drinking not very alcoholic mead at the Viking feast. Svolvær is capital of the glorious Lofotens, and it is the centre of the world's largest cod fisheries. The town square's main sculpture is a fish drying rack. As you already know, there are thousands of these all the way up the coast, drying Norway's speciality, stockfish. In daylight, Svolvær is claimed to be a pretty place. But in the dark, and no real views to be had, Dave and I seek refuge.
We're looking at a football match.
What, in the pub?
Yes.
Yeah, but it's freezing out here.
Well, I don't think they'd welcome anybody walking across the front of the screen.
Well, we can't stand out here for an hour and a half. 68 north, I can see it in the distance. And here we are, 68 north, and it's a bank. Oh well, in search of another pub somewhere. And these are only £9 a pint, so we turned up trumps in the end. There's a lot of football on there. Right, well it's freezing here. Are we going back to the ship?
Yeah.
Okay then. Oh.
It's gone midnight, and the ship's tannoy gives us a rude awakening.
Yeah, I'm coming. Looks like we've got the chance for Northern Lights again next midnight, and fingers crossed, see what we see this time. Well, a very small showing, but probably not enough to get out of bed for. What a shame. That's probably our last chance. Right. Next morning, woken in the middle of the night. Wonder what the weather's doing now. Fog and snow.
That's what we're looking at now.
Yeah, looks nice there, doesn't it? Artist's impression, I think. Looks a godforsaken hole in the snow. Oh, we've got some travellers going to join the ship.
It brightens up at last. It's another relaxing relaxing day today with much of the time on the ship.
I never liked this bit. It's over the water. I suppose it's safe. It truly is an Arctic voyage. They've been shoveling snow off today. To be snowstorms in the distance.
It might be freezing outside, but the Havila Capella is cosy. Time to settle down next to a cheery virtual fire on the 6th deck, with authentic electronic crackles. Brunnesund approaches.
Right, we've got 2.5 hours here.
This attractive port is also the halfway point between north and south of the Norwegian coastline.
Now over there's what the town's most famous for, a signpost. There we go. Halfway between Alesund and Nordkapp. We've been to that one at least. There you go, that's our tourism done for the day. What do we do now?
840 kilometres we were and beyond.
Yeah.
But we're not going another 840 kilometres.
No, we're not. How long that coastline is? Nearly 1,700 kilometres.
The town is situated on the Helgeland archipelago, surrounded by thousands of islands of all shapes and sizes. With 2 hours left, we explore another attraction, its shopping centre. Not too far away is a very pretty church. Stricken twice by lightning, the present church was built of stone in 1870. The ship sails through the clear waters at dusk, and after the bridge there's one more attraction to see before nightfall. Here it is, Torghatten. It's an island with a magical mountain.
So half the ship are waiting to see a hole in the mountain.
According to legend, there's a hole which was made when a giant shot an arrow at his rival.
Excitement mounts.
If you get the angle right, the 35-metre natural tunnel is still visible today.
Yes, and there it is. We have a hole in the mountain. Wonder if we'll get any northern lights tonight. Be nice to think so. It's fairly clear. Well, here we are at Trondheim again on the return trip. I've slept in my clothes awaiting the call for the Northern Lights, but it never came. A beautiful clear sky, but nothing. We've seen some green blobs and not quite as spectacular as the publicity photographs are, but nevertheless we've seen it all.
Our only stop to disembark today is beautiful Kirkenes with its colourful post-war architecture. Nearly 900 houses burned down after the bombing of the city in 1940. After this, major reconstruction embraced the original style of the gable-ended houses along the wharves, named after the clipfish, cod that has been dried and salted. But we've only got less than an hour.
Past the fish canning factories and off to the town.
Klippfisk.
Klippfisk, that's the word.
Klippfisk.
So we've only got 3/4 of an hour left. Wonder if this guy's got a parking fine. He's not going to pay it. And we're about to see Christiansen's famous statue. There's half the cruise ship having a look.
The bronze statue is named the Clipfish Wife, to commemorate the workers on the Clipfish Rocks. It was a gift to the town on its 250th anniversary in 1992.
It's our last stop.
Kristiansund, yes.
Yeah. It's a shame that it's all coming to an end, but it's been a great time so far.
Oh, it's been a fantastic trip. It really has. So it's Bergen tomorrow, our last night on the ship tonight.
Back on board. And there are all the ports we've visited. Some at night, some in the day, some are just 20 minutes. And we've been through the lot.
So have you enjoyed your holiday?
Oh yeah, definitely. Something entirely new for me. And if it wasn't for the price of drinks, it would have been even better. Cheers. Anyway, it's okay really. You bought this round.
Well, for me, each of the 12 days was quite different, and the scenery was just beautiful. Everyone is packed, and we've just a morning left on the Havila Capella. Passengers hastily finish their knitting, others hurry to reach the end of their books. The whole journey has been spectacular at times, and a wonderful insight into Norwegian history and coastal life. For many centuries, settlement has been possible far into the Arctic Circle due to the warmth from the Atlantic Gulf Stream and the shelter from thousands of islands along the coast. Our passage on the whole has been sheltered too. We cruise into snowy Bergen on time with plenty of memories. Dave and I thoroughly agree it has been a perfect complement to our Footloose in Norway summer visit last year.